This is a very exciting time for us. Who is us? I'm Joe, for starters, and I have in front of me a number of students, or my classroom, or in one language of a couple of thousand years ago, my disciples, those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape, Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance is to evacuate and leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us. Now, that's a pretty drastic statement, pretty bold, in terms of religion, in terms of anyone's intelligent thinking. To most people who would consider themselves intelligent beings, they'd say, well, that's absurd. What's all this doomsday stuff? What's all this prophetic apocalyptic talk? You know, intelligent human beings should realize that all things have their own cycle. They have their season. They have their beginning. They have their end. We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end. We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under, and have another chance to serve as a garden for human civilization. Well, he should have been a podcaster. It's finally here. The long-awaited graduation day. You carefully pick out your outfit, which is a simple black shirt with a patch. And you have black pants and Nike Decade sneakers. You and your check partner share excitement as you tuck your bus fare, a mere $5.75, into your pockets. Today you will leave your craft and transform into the perfect next level being. The anticipation for this day has been building up inside you, and now it's finally here. Your older member instructs you to sign out, just as you do when you leave your craft for a task. You sign your name, which is a combination of 3 consonants of your choice with the suffix "od". You leave the expected return time blank because you'll never return to this craft. You smile as you get into your assigned group. You're lucky because you're in the first one. Your check partner will go after you, so they'll ensure your smooth transition to the craft that your older members will be on. You're handed a cup with vodka in it, along with a small pot of pudding with pills crushed into it. You receive instructions to consume both of these items as quickly as possible. You do so. You then receive instructions to lie down on your bed. You do so. As you lay in bed, you feel everything slow down. You wonder how soon it'll be until the transition, how the metamorphosis will feel, and how to greet the older members. As you fall asleep, your check partner puts a bag over your head and waits. As soon as you're gone, they take the bag off and place a purple shroud over your head. They'll be joining you shortly. The news blares almost a week later with the story of a strange group of people all wearing matching outfits lying dead in a home in Rancho Santa Fe, California. The first responders at the scene are overwhelmed by the putrid stench of rotting corpses in the California heat. It is only days before Will Ferrell appears on Saturday Night Live making a big joke about the horrors that went down in March 1997. How did we get here? How did a music teacher convince 38 other people to end their lives in such a strangely meticulous manner? Welcome to How Did We Get Here, the podcast where we dive deep and dissect the world of infamous and current cults and unearth the hidden psyche of their leaders. I'm Emily, your guide in this journey and a professional psych nurse. That being said, I'm not formally diagnosing anybody with anything on this show. I'm only coming from my experience and research when I talk about mental disorders and other psychological phenomena. Every week we will examine the often overlooked allure of the macabre that has lured countless individuals into their fold. Together we will delve into infamous cults like the Manson family, the People's Temple, and lesser-known ones that just might be springing up in your neighborhood. This week, I will finally delve into one of my favorite cults, the cult of cults, Heaven's Gate. This story got me interested in the wildly exciting world of cults. This episode will be the first of a several episode series, beginning with the story of its 2 leaders, Marshall Herf Applewhite and Bonnie Lou Nettles. In the following episodes, I will discuss the group's beliefs, its early days, its members, and its tragic end. I hope you enjoyed this series because this is how I got here. Heaven's Gate is the story of a group of weirdos who died by suicide. They hoped to board a spacecraft that trailed a comet to go to heaven. This organization began in the early 1970s and ended in 1997. The number of members at its peak was about 100. By the time of the deaths, that number was 39. Heaven's Gate is not the group's actual name. That name came from an announcement on their website before the deaths. The members called themselves the group or the class. They also used the names Human Individual Metamorphosis and Total Overcomers Anonymous. Who began such a group? Though Marshall Applewhite is the more well-known leader, Bonnie Lou Nettles came up with the ideas and the mythos of the cult. Upon her death, Applewhite revered her as a god and himself as Christ. Let's begin with Marshall Applewhite. His story is unfortunate. He hated himself so much that he found it easier to believe that he was an alien than it was for him to accept that he was bisexual. He wanted to disconnect from himself so badly that he preached the belief that what you saw when you saw him was not actually him. He was a spirit, and he only borrowed the body of another man. Marshall Herff Applewhite was born in Texas in 1931. His father, a Presbyterian minister, was opening new churches, which required his family to move around frequently. Marshall was well loved by his sisters. An article on CNN quotes his sister saying how sweet and funny he was. Childhood friends describe him as a natural leader. Marshall wanted to be like his father, but felt a pull to the music world when he grew up. According to people who knew him, he had a beautiful singing voice. I scoured the internet hoping to find a recording of him singing. However, I was unsuccessful. He sang numerous roles with the Houston Grand Opera. Marshall Applewhite was a well-respected choir director, music teacher, and family man. He also served 2 years in the Army Signal Corps. In later videos, he describes his life during this time as very normal and valid. This all fell apart after a series of job changes following affairs with male students. He was asked to leave one job because of this, and he quit another, citing mental health issues. He was hospitalized following a psychotic break during opera rehearsal. During this time, he met his spiritual guide and partner, the nurse Bonnie Lou Nettles. When I look at a picture of Bonnie Lou Nettles, I think of my grandmother. Her dark hair is neatly done, and a little white nurse's cap is tucked in it. She was a wife and mother to 4 children. Her daughter Terry gives much insight into her life before Heaven's Gate. In the HBO Max documentary, Terry talked about how her mom would take her outside and watch the stars together. Bonnie would wistfully wish for a UFO to come and take them away, as she did not belong to this world. And she was into strange things for a woman of her era. Bonnie Nettles had an astrology column and would do readings for all who asked. She believed in spiritual guides, especially one named Brother Francis, who guided her astrology and tarot readings. She also did seances with her friends. Bonnie Nettles also strongly believed in theosophy. Theosophy focused on the mystical, esoteric, supernatural, and transcendental wisdom. Practitioners of this discipline believe in using one's intuition and meditation to connect with the magical energies within. Now I'm thinking of that clip from SpongeBob, The Power Within. Theosophists study each religion's sacred text to find its hidden meanings. They seek out supernatural events so that they may strengthen their spiritual energies. They believe that God is all-encompassing and that humans are manifestations of God's energies. The purpose of life is to rediscover your godliness and return to Him. Bonnie's husband did not embrace these beliefs and practices as warmly as his wife did. He left her and took the kids. She worked on the unit where Marshall Applewhite was being treated for what some believe was a nervous breakdown, others believe was homosexual urges. Even more people believe it was a drug overdose, and I've also heard that it was a heart blockage. The two of them paired off and hit the road. Marshall had his religious upbringing and apocalyptic worldviews, and Bonnie her esoteric wisdom. They traveled numerous miles across the country to determine what drew them together. Tea and dough, Bo and Peep, Guinea and Pig, or the two. They set off on their mission during a time where UFOs and New Age movements were popular. Efforts to combine spirituality and science began in the Enlightenment era. These movements were heavily influenced by Carl Jung, Helena Blavatsky, Emanuel Swedenborg, and Franz Mesmer, to name a few. UFO religions popped up in the 1950s, all with apocalyptic messages of aliens bringing us to a new world. The Beatles and their ties to Eastern mysticism, namely George Harrison's Hindu beliefs, significantly increased interest in spirituality. With the end of the 1960s counterculture, the world was ready for Applewhite and Nettles. Thank you for listening to this episode of How Did We Get Here? Tune in next week for more on this group's mythos. If you like this series, please comment and subscribe to it. I release new content every Friday. Share this podcast with a friend. Follow me on X, Instagram, Patreon, YouTube, and TikTok at EmiCast1018. That's EMICAST1018. Thank you.